we have public input. So just before we do that, we're a little bit of a change in how we're operating things today. You would have received an email last night, so we're going to go through public forum, at which point we will adjourn this meeting. We will then have a confidential governing body briefing, and at the conclusion of that, we will go back into and reconvene this committee meeting. So once we get through the public forum, we'll break into a confidential governing body briefing. The Mayor will jump into this seat and we will continue from there. So we have public input. We had 3 input requests. We approved all 3. However, we have deferred, Graham, and I acknowledge you here, until the March meeting because Graham wanted to talk about an issue regarding grade separation, and at the March meeting we will be having a report from AT in regards to grade separation, so it makes sense to have Graham coming along and talking about safeguarding, which is what he wants to talk about at that meeting. So we also have 2 items of public input, so I'd ask Matthew Lee and Nimish Singh to come up. They represent Rupu Kahikatea Auckland University Students Association, and they want to talk to us about public transport. So welcome, gents. You know you're here for the, I think, planning committee or the governing body or something. You know how it works, so I'll hand over to you and away we go.
Great, thank you. Kia ora koutou, it's nice to see you all again. Again, my name is Matthew.
And my name is Nimish, and we're coming to you from Te Ropu Kahikatea, AUSA. You may remember us from the Policy Planning and Development Committee.
But today we wanted to talk about student experiences with transport.
Hopefully you know or remember who we are, but as a reminder, we're the largest students association in the country, representing approximately 47,000 students at Waipapa Taumataro, University of Auckland.
We're currently super busy planning for Orientation Week, where tens of thousands of students will be coming onto campus into Auckland, many of them for the first time.
Most of them will be travelling onto campus via the public transport network in Auckland. Today we want to talk about our experiences with transport, how the fees have affected student behaviour, and what we can continue to do together.
The number one issue we heard through the Students' Manifesto, which we mentioned last time, was the high cost of transport. It was named as one of the highest barriers to coming onto campus to receiving their education. And you can see through some of the quotes here that it's really demotivated students onto coming to campus, and thereby interacting with campus and the local businesses around campus as well.
This is a big issue for us at the university. Fewer and fewer students are showing up to classes, and the changes have been very visible. The university and AUSA are doing what we can to try and enforce a sticky campus and have events and facilities to promote students staying longer. But the difficulty is getting them to come in the first place.
I'm sure you're all aware of the recent tertiary concession changes. This is following advocacy from ourselves, AUTSA, and the University of Auckland, and we're very grateful to Auckland Council and Auckland Transport for making that happen. The 40% concession means that it's much more affordable for students to travel in, and this is something we're looking forward to surveying students on and modelling how this has affected student behaviour.
That being said, we believe it can go much further. We believe that central government can and should be footing the bill. This ensures long-term stability of the policy and a rollout of this across the country. We also believe that the concession can go much further. Looking to our neighbours across the Tasman, there are many examples of public transport being very cheap, like in Queensland, and that has a real positive effect on mobility and engagement with the city.
And this is something that we believe we can work together on. We want to properly track student mobility and build a strong business case using data we collect here in Auckland and using examples from overseas, like in Queensland and Australia, to advocate to central government to pick up the bill, make sure it has stable long-term support and funding, and increase the concession even more.
Another issue we want to raise is around safety. Here we have 2 points. First is the safety for our disabled students, especially users of wheelchairs. Through our disability rights officer at AUSA, we heard that buses were not accessible or safe for students using wheelchairs. It does not have the proper infrastructure to make sure that manual wheelchairs in particular can be strapped down properly, making it a safety hazard for them and for other bus users.
And the other issue is with general safety on buses, especially. I'm sure we're all aware of the news reports of safety on public transport, news reports of stabbings, attacks, and motivated hate crimes are shocking, and the number of fatalities is just plain heartbreaking. Some of them were even students at the University of Auckland. Stories like these deter students from using public transport, especially late at night. We heard from many students who would prefer, especially those who live far away, who would prefer to Uber home at night or just not come to campus at all if they know that they have to be on public transport at night. This is an issue that needs to be solved as soon as possible.
As we mentioned last time, we believe that Auckland is the best city in Aotearoa, but we also want to make it the best city for students. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. We are happy to take any questions that you may have.
Well done, lads. So first up, Shane.
Thank you, Chair. And always great to hear from my alumni. So I'll put your points around wheelchairs to Auckland Transport later in the meeting. Thanks for raising that. But a question I do have is, if budget could be found, would you support lowering the $50 weekly public transport fare cap?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Shane. John.
Yeah, just on the question of safety that you brought up there, and of course students have got later lectures and are more likely than, say, workers, for instance, to be coming home at later hours. Do you have any specific suggestions? I know at some of the bus stations in my ward they have a security persons. They have extensive cameras to capture. Is there anything practical that occurs to students that could be done to make that safer and therefore people not having to pay for Ubers and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll leave the specific initiatives to the experts, but I think there is one thing that students have been talking about, and that's lighting around bus stops. I think lighting does just promote safety in general, and I think especially if you're moving to, busing to outer suburbs and outer areas in Auckland, a lot of the buses aren't well lit. The bus stops aren't well lit, which means that there's a lot more danger and risk of that happening. Yeah.
Okay, well, Alf.
Yeah, apologies, Chair. I've got a question, and then, if at all possible, Chair, just an acknowledgement. I'll go to the question first. In regards to your last bullet point, I'll be interested in your thoughts around having a conversation with the government, with the police, around in Auckland Transport, around having a larger conversation around police or transport police. I'll be interested to hear your views on that, and then I'll make the acknowledgement. Kia ora.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Thanks for raising that, Alf. I think that is a conversation that we are planning to have a little bit more, and certainly one of the avenues that we could be keen to hear more about, how it might work, what the function would be, and whether that would be a viable solution.
And just the acknowledgement, there's a young lady at the back of the room who is part of this, and her name's Shan. I just wanted to acknowledge Tataki Auckland Limited, because they have an intern program that they have developed in which they run, and it's for Māori and Pacifica interns. So I just wanted to acknowledge Shan as one of them, of several, that Tataki Auckland Unlimited lead. Kia ora, thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Alf. No more questions. So thanks, gentlemen, for... Oh, Tau, you haven't pushed your button, mate, but away you go.
Kia ora. First of all, thank you for using the soon-to-be outlawed term Aotearoa. And following on from Councillor Watson, do you have a bigger portfolio of things that you think council should be doing? I mean, I would really like to know what the university students are wanting in terms of not only transport, but the whole gamut of what council does. Is there something that I can go to and read?
Well, yes. At the end of last year, we released the Students' Manifesto, which is a collection of many of the issues that the students at the University of Auckland really care about. And this was following extensive consultation with the student body and with different communities on campus as well. There's a QR code conveniently just on the slides right there that leads you straight to it, or you can go to ausa.nz/manifesto. But yeah, that's a collection of the issues that we really care about at the university. Some of them we acknowledge are not within the purview of local government and Auckland Council, but this is something that we strongly believe the university, the Students' Association, and Auckland Council can be working together on to advocating for positive change for our city, especially this year during the election year.
Do you have any view on bus routes and shit like that?
Oh, yes. I think many of our students, have a lot of thoughts about how bus routes can be improved. And that's why I think it's really important for us to be tracking student mobility, to seeing where students are going, when students are going to different places, to making sure that the bus routes actually fit student mobility. I think, recently there were a few bus lines that, off the top of my head, I think it was the outer link that was changed, and that's actually affected students quite negatively. I think the change in bus routes have changed, so it's where the bus is going, and it's really affected students in terms of where they actually want to go. So yeah, bus routes is another really important thing, and I think that's why it's so important for us to be working together to be tracking that behaviour.
Thank you. And just a reminder too, folks, if some people haven't actually logged on to the meeting yet through Resolve, so if you can do that. I think we're 4 months in, so crack into it. Julie.
Kia ora. I will not be silenced. Thank you very much for coming back to us on transport. Thank you, Alf. Having had a good chat about housing to the Planning, Policy and Development Committee, I got that the wrong way around. My question was in the safety space. Do you have any sort of, was there any sort of breakdown of whether there are particular groups of students who are particularly vulnerable, or I'm thinking about my own experience back in the day as a woman catching the bus to uni, which took a very long time from Glenfield, and as Councillor Hills well knows, and I shifted to driving to uni as soon as I possibly could, and part of that was safety, so part of it was cost. So do you have a sense of whether there's particular groups of students who that's particularly acute for? I'm also thinking, you mentioned issues around hate crimes as well, Matthew. Yeah, so any insight that you have on that from the research that you did? Thank you.
Sure, thank you for that question. I think that's really important to know. So this is purely anecdotal, but I mean, like you mentioned, our female students are particularly vulnerable with safety on public transport. You mentioned hate crime as well, and I think a lot of our international students, and especially international students coming from Asia, or just Asian students in general, are a group that feel particularly targeted in these bus attacks and stabbings and hate crimes. But also I think important to note that these attacks happen for students who are on buses for longer periods of time. So students who are traveling to outer suburbs, especially in South Auckland. And so, naturally, Māori and Pacific students are particularly vulnerable there because of the geographics and demographics, yeah.
Just one quick follow-up, Chair, which was around, I'm also interested in those who perhaps visibly look different in terms of their gender identity as well, and whether you'd had any, because I think what you're speaking to there is people who look different from the perceived default, and I wondered if you'd had any feedback about that aspect as well.
Yeah, that was actually something that did come through the Students' Manifesto consultation period, was just, general safety, and the students who were citing safety concerns were, like you said, those who don't look like the perceived default, if you will. It's an issue that is across the board for a lot of our communities, especially our more marginalised communities. The safety concerns go throughout just all students in general. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Kia ora, and apologies, Chair. My computer was doing a very extended restart. That's why I couldn't push the button. Thanks so much for coming in. I did not attend the excellent University of Auckland. I went to Te Whare Otago, and during my time there, they instigated Campus Watch, and it was quite heavily mocked the first couple of years, but actually now has evolved into something that I think is a really strong part of that university and really does contribute to safety. So excuse my ignorance, but does University of Auckland have anything equivalent?
So nothing similar to Campus Watch down in Otago, but I think part of the perspective that we're coming from is that community initiatives will actually solve a lot of these, not solve a lot of these issues, but it'll go a long way. It's community-based, it's student-based, it's students helping students. I think that's what will really drive sort of the initiatives that will help. So yeah, I mean, potentially we could look at talking to the university about doing something similar to Campus Watch, but it's, yeah, like I said, it's really community initiatives like just, steering a little bit away from transport, for example. It's community initiatives like Take 10, for example, that will really help students feeling safe around campus, so yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, gents. So the motion is to receive the public input and thank Matthew and Nimish for attending. Someone like to move? Thanks, Shane. Seconded, Julie. Those in favour say aye. Aye. And against, carried. Thank you, gents. Okay, the next item on the agenda or public input is Artist